a more, modest groove. The experts are all over the place on this one, and today we're going to figure out why. And listen, we're not talking about next week or next month. We're looking 2 full years into the future. And when you start digging into what the pros are actually predicting, you find 2 completely different stories. And this is where it gets really, really interesting.
I mean, just look at this gap. On one side, you have some experts who see the price hovering right around $3,500. But then on the other side, you've got forecasts soaring past the $10,000 mark. That's a huge difference. So what gives? How can the people who study this stuff for a living be so far apart?
Okay, so let's get into the actual data. Check out Jelly up top. They are super bullish, right? They're predicting an average price near $8,500 with a potential high over 10 grand. But then you look at Binance and CoinCodex and whoa, it's a totally different picture. Their analysis points to a much more conservative number, right around that $3,500 mark. Yeah, this isn't just a numbers game. This is basically a $7,000 question. This massive gap in predictions, it's not random. It all comes down to 2 fundamentally different ways of looking at Ethereum's future. And that's the puzzle we're going to piece together right now. So let's start with the optimists. What's the playbook for Ethereum to actually smash that $10,000 ceiling? Well, this whole bullish scenario is really built on a foundation of technology, adoption, and, you guessed it, big money. So the really high-end forecasts, like the one from Changelly, are betting on future potential. They're counting on a few big things to go right. First, strong adoption of Ethereum's big network upgrades, which would make it way more efficient. Second, that its scaling solutions actually work, making transactions faster and a whole lot cheaper. And finally, the big one, broader institutional investment. We're talking more large corporations and funds buying into Ethereum's long-term vision.
Okay, now let's flip the coin. Why are some analysts kind of hitting the brakes and predicting a price that looks a whole lot more like today's?
The more conservative forecasts from places like Binance and CoinCodex aren't necessarily pessimistic. They're just grounded differently. They rely heavily on something called technical analysis, which basically means they're looking at past price charts and market trends to predict what's going to happen next. And based on those historical patterns, they're seeing a path of much slower, more cautious growth ahead.
Now, beyond the bulls and the bears, you have the wild cards. These are the curveballs, the things that could come out of left field and just change the entire game. And believe me, in crypto, there are plenty of them. One of the biggest wildcards is just pure volatility. I mean, think about it. The crypto market can swing by 20, 30, even 50% in a matter of days. That kind of built-in instability makes predicting anything 2 years from now incredibly difficult. And it's a huge reason why these forecasts are all over the map. And that volatility, it's fueled by some major uncertainties. Like, what are global regulations going to look like in 2026? Will competitors like Solana or Cardano start eating into Ethereum's market share? And this is a critical one. Will Ethereum's own complex tech upgrades, things like sharding and rollups, actually be successful? The answer to any one of these questions could dramatically shift the price. Okay, so we've looked at the optimists, the cautious crowd, and the total wildcards. So what's the actual takeaway from all this conflicting info? How should you even think about these numbers? So when you boil it all down, we're looking at 2 really different roads Ethereum could go down. There's the bullish path where pretty much everything goes right and ETH breaks into 5-figure territory. And then there's the bearish path, or maybe you just call it the more realistic path, where growth is steady but cautious, and the price stays in that $3,000 to $4,000 range. And this right here, this might be the most important takeaway of all. Treat these as speculative forecasts, not guarantees. The crypto market is famously unpredictable. That means for anyone in...
Please subscribe and like.